solution for all things nerdy. Dungeons and Dragons, this world's not blurry. From comics to movies, he's got it all. He's an Outpost nerd living in a geeky world with his lightsaber shining. He's a Star Wars swirl through galaxies and adventures. He'll take you there, take you there. He's an Outpost nerd, no one can compare. Nerd power, yeah, he's the king of nerds, catching out there.
What's up, my nerds, geeks, and dorks? I'm the nerd of the Outpost, and welcome to another transmission from the Outpost Nerd. Hope everyone's doing a good this sunny spring day down here in the Sunshine State, where it's still a little chilly, but I hope we're doing good. Today I wanted to talk about something that's a story element that I really find interesting about how it's portrayed and how we are influenced by it. Today, we're talking about bullies in media. So, first question we need to ask is, what is a bully? So, according to Health Direct, here are some key facts about bullies. Bullying is a behavior that is repeated and intended to cause psychological abuse, social or physical harm. Bullying can be harmful to your mental health, your self-esteem, and your social relationships. People who bully often have low self-esteem. If you are being bullied or you know someone who is being bullied, there are always ways to stop it and places to go for advice and help. On this page, we're going to hit some key points. I'm not going to hit all of them just due to time, but here's what is bullying? Oh, well, let's see. What is bullying? Bullying is when people deliberately use words or actions repeatedly against an individual or a group to cause physical, social, and or psychological harm. They usually want to make the person feel less powerful or helpless. Bullying can happen anywhere, at school, at work, at home, online, or by text messaging or by email. Bullying comes in different forms, all of which cause distress and pain for a person who's being bullied. We'll get back to this in just a second. One stereotype about bullying is that it only happens in school when we're young. That's not true. You can find bullies anywhere. I have dealt with bullies in college. I have dealt with bullies in school. I have dealt with bullies at home. In my experience, I've dealt with bullies pretty much anywhere. So what are the different types of bullying? We don't really think about the different types. There are verbal bullying, name calling, teasing, putting someone down, threatening to cause someone harm. I think we've all experienced this one a little bit, especially, the bullying disguised as jokes. We'll discuss this a little bit and I'll give an example. I have some examples of bullying in different medias and movies, cartoons, and just things that I specifically remember seeing in media. That just some examples. There's physical bullying, poking, hitting, punching, kicking, spitting, tripping, or pushing someone, breaking someone's things, pulling faces, or making rude hand signals. Okay, yeah, that is more the one I've dealt with at home. With an older brother. I'm the youngest of two. I have an older brother who would bully me along like that. Social bullying, lying, spreading rumors, playing horrible jokes, leaving someone out on purpose, or embarrassing someone in public. This is the school bullying. That's the school bullying kind of idea that we see a little bit. And here's the newest one, in my opinion, cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is using technology like email, mobile phones, chat rooms, or networking sites to hurt someone by sending hurtful messages, pictures, or comments. We've seen this one gain so much traction in the last 15, 20 years, especially you take physical bullying, like the school bully. These three, I would say, oh wow, I've seen the rise of these three so much in the last 15, 20 years. It used to be these two would end when the school bell rung, but with the rise of social media and cell phones and Facebook and all this, it continues at home. People you can't escape it, and it has pushed people so far. It is. It used to have bullying. Used to have a break from bullying, but now you don't. Here's here's what I have found in my work experience. Bully behavior at work, what is physically, mentally, or socially threatening, can include intimidation, threats, exclusion, verbal or physical abuse. Bullying is not the same as harassment. I think this distinction people need to make. Bullying is not the same as harassment. Harassment includes any unwelcome behavior that offends, humiliates, or intimidates a person. While harassment can be an element of bullying, harassment can be a one off conflict or can happen between strangers. If these behaviors happen only once, it is not bullying. That's the distinction I think we need to make. Behavior that involves conflict between equals, no matter how inappropriate, is also not considered bullying. These behaviors alone don't define bullying. Okay, so we've defined what bullying is a little bit and what it's not, what constitutes bullying versus harassment. One thing I'd like to look into, what's the difference between a bully and a villain? A villain, I think, is one who wants to do harm for themselves for gain. A bully does it for, be it financial or social gain. A bully just wants to make themselves feel better. And I think this is what we're going to get into. Why do people bully? There are different reasons why people bully, including want to dominate others and improve their social status. We see that a lot in movies, with high school movies, which I will show. One of our clips shows just that. Having low self-esteem and wanting to feel better about themselves. Having a lack of remorse. Having a lack of remorse or failing to recognize their behavior as a problem. Yeah,
Bartender, Coors Banquet for me. Surely.
we see we don't see that. We don't see the lack of remorse or failing to recognize their own behavior, because usually we find out that bullies themselves are a lot of times bullied. And an example of that, one of the biggest bullies was we see from the 80s was Johnny Lawrence from Cobra Kai. We saw him just torture Daniel, and we never really knew why until we got Cobra Kai. And in this clip, you find out really more of their backstories, more of Daniel's and Johnny's backstory.
For the lady.
Club soda will be fine, thank you. Okay, one drink and then we get the hell out of here.
See the social awkwardness between them. You could, that face. You see, they don't know how to react. They're always under each other's skin, I guess you could say.
So, Your stepdad was an asshole, huh?
And there we have it. The reason Johnny was the way he was because he was abused at home. We don't see home life. We see the public persona of the bully.
Back in the day, I just figured you were living the life. You know, fancy cars, motorbikes.
It had its moments. And I come home and pretty much get bullied every day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See, there it is, right there. Johnny felt powerless at home, so he would try to substitute that power in public. You know, he took that power. He got that power from bullying Daniel. And this next one I think feeds right into that. He had a feeling of angry, frustrated, or jealous. Next one, why people bully. Struggling socially. And this last one is Johnny Lawrence, I believe, to a T, from what we learned through Cobra Kai. Being the victim of bullying themselves. He himself was a bully. Now, that does not excuse the things he did to Daniel or other people, but it's a reason. It answers why. What? And a lot of times we don't recognize bullying. Here's some. We don't recognize the signs, and here's the signs of being bullied according to healthdirect.gov. Being unusually secretive and quiet. Appearing overly sensitive or weepy or having angry outbursts. Not sleeping properly. Having physical injuries like bruises, cuts, or scratches. Becoming isolated, withdrawn, or losing interest in normal activities. Having physical aches and pains like headaches or stomach aches. Receiving more messages than usual via social media. Yes, yeah, that social media one is a big one nowadays. All these were the victim. They don't want to go out. They don't want to be around their bullies, and these are a lot of signs or excuse or reasons for them to stay away. What are signs my child is being bullied? You know, parents, I'm not a parent myself, but I'm an uncle helping raise my niece. And these are signs that I try to keep a lookout for. Luckily, we haven't had any of these issues with my my niece yet. The signs your child is being bullied: not wanting to go to school or have no friends, having damaged or missing belongings, a child who has been toilet trained starts to wet their bed again, having physical aches like headaches or stomach aches. That same sign again. We saw it just up here. We saw it in the signs of bullying. Again, receiving more messages via social media. Now these we see so many different types of bullying. First one I want to talk about is classism. You know, that idea of someone being better than you, and that person thinking because my social standing is higher than you, I can get away with this. You're beneath me, so I can pull these pranks on you. My first example that I have is a scene from Downton Abbey, a great British show. I recommend it. Where this was set during the early 1900s or 1920s, 1910s. we see where the main character is the Earl of a British Earl who is very in his mind the classes don't mix, and this is the era where they started mixing. That social hierarchy that England had for centuries is kind of being fallen to the wayside. You don't have as many people who are just aristocrats for the sake of being aristocratic. Birth doesn't matter so much anymore. So and let me share.
I say, what the devil?
What is it?
Dinner is served, your ladyship.
No, I don't agree, and I don't care who knows it.
Okay, a little background. That character is Irish. This is a British aristocratic home, and this was during the times of the Troubles when they were starting the Ireland fought war for independence. He's very nationalistic. He's a proud Irishman. He married the Earl's youngest daughter, so he's kind of in the family without the Earl's approval. And if you didn't notice, he's been roofied, basically. You'll see how he kind of reacts and how people respond to it, and how the bullies' justification of it is what really I have dealt with a lot personally. And I'll stop it when there's a line that I absolutely love from one of the characters, and I'll stop it when I'm pointed out when she says it.
Well, the Black and Tans are there to restore order, are they? Why don't they just murder the entire population and then you wouldn't hear a squeak out of any of them?
Is there any way to shut him up?
If I knew how to control him, he wouldn't be here in the first place.
Are you interested?
See, we see that's the father. He did not approve. This was the time where children had to get the approval of their parents to marry. Yeah.
In Irish politics, Lord Newton?
Well, I was only just saying that I thought...
He's interested in Irish repression, like all of you.
Look, old chap, of course this stuff matters a great deal to you.
Yes, it does matter. This stuff. It matters a very great deal.
What's so funny?
Nothing. I'm just enjoying this vivid display of Irish character.
Please, Tom. We don't need to wear everyone out.
Why? What's the matter? Am I not being polite enough?
Wait a minute, this was down to you, wasn't it?
I don't know what you mean.
Yes, you do. I saw you. You put something in his drink, didn't you? Just before we came in.
It's exactly what he did.
That's not true, is it, Larry? What a beastly thing to do.
Oh, come on, Edith. That's not like you. You could always take a joke.
A bully's defense.
Jokes, a bully's defense. Right there. Someone can think they're having fun, that they're trying to have a good time. And look at his face. He has no remorse at this second about what he did. He basically poisoned someone as a joke.
Listen, everyone. Mr. Gray has given my brother-in-law something to make him appear drunk.
Could it be drink?
No, not drink. Some horrible pill. Sybil, take him upstairs.
Il ne manque que ça.
Joking and bullying, there's not a very big gap between them. When you're joking, yes, you can joke, you can have fun. But when the butt of the joke says, okay, enough, and you keep going, that to me is when it becomes bullying. That is the thin line between joking and bullying, is consent. And the next type of bullying is the bullying, love disguised as bullying. What do we do when the bully is they have these feelings that they don't know how to respond to. So it comes out of abuse. An example of that I have here is Helga from Hey Arnold. She was madly in love with Arnold. A little too much for what third or fourth graders. Really weird, but not understanding those emotions. It came out as bullying.
Here you go, football head. Thanks. Hey. Sucker. Man, seems like Helga's always picking on you in particular, Arnold. I don't know why. I just try to ignore her. What? Arnold! Hey, Arnold! 21 hours, 58 minutes in, 14 seconds until you die!
See, she even follows him home. And this was a time before social media. So this took a lot of effort on Helga's part. This book kind of bullying took a lot of effort on her part.
And what about Arnold? I mean, have you noticed the shape of his head? I mean, it's really wide. How does that kid get through doors anyway? What's with that little blue hat? Hey, Arnold, this just in. It's about 1 million sizes too small. I mean, what? What are you looking at, football head? Nice job, football head. You couldn't catch it cold. You loser. You couldn't. Heads up. Don't even think about asking me to dance, Arnaldo.
I wasn't.
Because I would rather stick my head in that bowl of dip than dance with a football head like you.
That's okay. I was just getting some punch.
Arnold, what a dweeb. How I loathe him.
Are you there?
Yeah.
See, a lot of times bullies don't know how to express their feelings. So they get frustrated with it and they lash out. And that's what a lot of what Helga was doing. She did not know how to express her feelings for Arnold, so it came across as bullying. So the next kind of topic is when you're bullied, how does that affect those around you who's seeing you be bullied, seeing this? And here I have a clip from Back to the Future. Biff, this is before the time change. Biff is still bullying George, and we see just Marty so dejected. It's like, how can my own father handle this? And we see our dads as bigger than life giants. A lot of kids, like me personally, my dad has been a pilot, and my dad was this superhero. I would say, I tell people my dad has superpowers. He flies above the clouds like Superman. And then when something like what Marty sees, we see him just see your dad is a human with issues still. And you see he seems so crestfallen.
Perfect. Just perfect.
I can't believe you loaned me your car without telling me it had a blind spot. I could have been killed.
See this? This is not it. Biff wrecked the car. It's not his fault. It's George's fault. And we see he never takes the blame, and he wants to put all of it on George. And we see George take it because he doesn't know how to respond.
Now, Biff, I never noticed that the car had any blind spot before when I would drive it. Hi, son.
But what are you, blind, McFly? It's there. How else do you explain that wreck out there?
Now, Biff, can I assume that your insurance is going to pay for the damage?
My insurance? It's your car. Your insurance should pay for it. I want to know who's going to pay for this. I spilled beer all over when that car smashed into me. Who's going to...
See, and and to top it off, he was drinking and driving. Still, in Biff's eyes, he did no wrong.
Pay my cleaning bill. And where's my reports?
Marty
well,
just
I
does.
haven't finished
Marty
those
is
up
not
yet,
having
but,
it.
you know, I figured since they were due till...
Hello? Hello?
And
Anybody?
here, the physical assault. Oh, he's joking. No, no. Any unwanted touch is physical assault. And we see this in Biff. He's grabbing the tie. He's basically choking George. We see him taking the power and then knocking on the head to humiliate him.
Home. Think, McFly. Think. I gotta have time to get them retyped. Do you realize what would happen if I handed my reports in your handwriting? I'll get fired. You wouldn't want that to happen, would you?
And he has George doing his work.
Would you?
Of course not, Biff. No, I wouldn't want that to happen. Now, look, I'll finish those reports on up tonight, and I'll run them on over first thing tomorrow, all right?
Hey, not too early. I sleep in Saturday. Oh, McFly, your shoes untied. Oh. Don't be so gullible, McFly. Got the place fixed up nice, oh, McFly.
Not his home, but there's no barrier with him. It's the high school bully. Biff is the high school bully, not bully that keeps going even after high school. And it's that power that he got a taste of in high school that he tried to keep a hold on. My next example is kind of the sneaky bully, the bully that takes opportunities in groups to torture their victim. And here's a clip from one of my favorite movies as a kid, Harriet the Spy, and we see the bully, and we finally see the victim stand up to the bully, but the response from those above them makes the victim out to be the problem.
Harriet, wait! Well, that wasn't very dignified.
Did you see that? Here, that's not very dignified. After what you just did, you try to play the victim. And a lot of times the bullies will play the victim just like she did. The kids were cleaning up the mess on Harriet, and she took that opportunity to make things worse. And of course, Harriet finally had enough, but the teacher went after Harriet. Did you see that? Now, sometimes a bully can kind of put out an olive branch, but when you're victimized so much by the person, that olive branch when it's offered to you, you start thinking, okay, where are the thorns in this olive branch? This next clip is for one of my favorite moments, not necessarily my favorite Spider-Man. It's from The Amazing Spider-Man 1. Peter returns to school after Uncle Ben's died, and Flash, who has been torturing him for years, kind of puts that olive branch out, and Peter doesn't know how to react. He lashes out because he's expecting, okay, how are you going to torture me in this? Out comes the olive branch.
Hey, Parker.
Not today, Flash.
Hey, come on, man. I just want to talk.
And this is Peter's. I think this reaction is not too far fetched. You have Flash, your bully, who would come to your locker and just torture you every day. And then you have this tragedy, and he realizes, hey, maybe now's not the time. Maybe and I've had this experience, you're slapped by a hand so many times when that hand is held out in friendship. That one time, you're paranoid. Your idea is how are you going to use this against me? That's the thing. That's why I think so many people don't open up. People carry so much in because they're scared. How is this going to use to make me feel little?
Feels better, right? Look, your uncle died. I'm sorry. I get it. I'm sorry.
And we see Peter realize that what Flash was doing, and I think he ran off in shame almost. This guy is still human, and he's trying to be empathetic to me, but he's been so hostile to me. How can I trust it? And a lot of times people hurt us so much and so often. When someone's actually trying to be nice, we don't know how to respond. We don't know how to react. Because you start thinking, like I said, how are you going to turn around and hurt me? And this goes back to the self-isolating aspect of bullying. When you're a victim, hey Shelly, thanks for being here. When you're this has hurt me. This is what I've done. It's the loneliness. You start feeling that it's better to be lonely than hurt. You don't want to put yourself out there. You don't want to put yourself out there because you've gone through so much pain. And sometimes the loneliness is easier. But then that loneliness becomes this handicap, this excuse almost. And it can become the best way I can describe it. It's like a chain dragging you to the bottom of an ice-covered lake. You're screwed both ways. And it's like choose the form of your destroyer from Ghostbusters. Either you sink in the loneliness or you suffocate from the ice. And it's it gets so hard. And I got someone backstage. I'll bring her on now. Hey, Shelly.
Hey, honey, you're getting awful existential. I thought maybe you could use some company.
It's a topic that has been bothering me for a while. It's this idea that bullying only happens when we're young and in school.
No, bully happens all through your life. Come on, talk
Yeah.
to me. Talk to me.
It's.
I just woke up though, so if I'm a little slow, a little grace, yeah.
Hey, you're fine. Hell,
Come on.
You're
You.
On your slowest days, you're still twice as fast as me.
Aw, that's not, if I was a dude, that would not be a good thing to say.
And I don't want what you don't want to hear in bed.
Yeah, or anywhere else. I hate to tell you.
It's just,
I mean, there's quickies and then there's quickies.
I've seen. I don't know why. I've been on an 80s and 90s movies kick recently. And
I'm in touch with that emotion. Go ahead.
Especially watching Cannonball Run the other night. That was
right, fucking awesome.
Can't wait for next week.
Ooh, I cursed on your channel. I'm so sorry.
Fuck it, I don't care. Okay. I'm gonna change something real quick. Do you know what this means in Gaelic on the bottom?
I know Gaelic is a homo thing. What happened?
Gaelic Irish.
I know. I'm trying to make y'all laugh.
Yeah, I know. It means go cross yourself, which is a polite term of saying go fuck yourself.
Nice. Like Bafangle.
Yes, exactly.
Uh-huh.
But I remember being bullied so much in school growing up and lashing out, you know. Like I use that like in the I don't know if you saw I shared a clip of
I literally just woke up.
Oh, I shared earlier a clip from Cobra Kai, great show, love it.
Mm-hmm.
Where you find out why Johnny Lawrence was the way he was in high school to Daniel, because his stepdad bullied him. He had that power, that confidence taken away from him at home. So what did he do? He tried to gain it back out in school, and at the expense of Daniel. A lot of times, bullies are the ones being bullied in one way or another. Or they have emotions like Helga from Hey Arnold. When I was a kid, you remember that show, Hey Arnold?
Yeah, I remember Helga. Good God,
she didn't understand her feelings, so they came out as anger and abusiveness.
You mean she was abrasive and loud and pushed people away first? Gee, I don't know anybody like
that. And then you see a perfect example. I just thought of connecting her and Cobra Kai. You go home and she's neglected. Her mom's an alcoholic with her special smoothies. Her dad is a workaholic obsessed with her perfect, air quote, perfect older sister. There's no doubt why Helga was the way she was. She didn't get those emotions at home. And so when she felt them out in public, she didn't know how to process them. And that was me. Our last clip is going to be from one of my favorite movies of all time. And did you ever see the movie Angus?
Nope. I did not.
I mean, look, it's One of George C. Scott's last film roles before he passed away. It
Uh-huh.
starts Kathy Bates, and it's about this high school kid named Angus. He's super smart, loves science, and he's a decent football player. And he gets abused because he's a bigger kid. Has always been a bigger kid. That was me in school. I could not wear yellow, Shelly, unless I wanted to be called a school bus.
Oh my God. Is that why that clip bothers you?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. It doesn't really bother me, Shelly.
I know it did, but it don't now. I get it.
I got over it. And I could
It's
tell
so
you,
cute. It's one of my. It's like literally my favorite.
I've told you why I didn't like it to begin
I
with.
know.
I could still remember my 3 bullies' names, and I'm 36 years old.
I'm gonna be 50. I remember all mine,
Yeah. And you know what?
including the ones I'm related to.
Yeah. One of them I share parents with.
Mm-hmm. I shared grandparents.
One of them, and the irony is, one of them was twice my size, Shelly. And another one, he kind of grew out of it. We went to high school together. We were in band together, and we got to be good friends. The third one, I do not know whatever happened to him, nor do I really care. But they wanted to take this power, and the teachers. And in one of my clips, did you ever read Harriet the Spy?
I did.
Do you remember that movie in the 90s with Michelle Trachtenberg? And
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I shared the clip of when she's covered in paint and all the kids are cleaning her up, and her bully takes the paint, another can of paint, and just pours it all over her. She stands up, just so angry, slaps the tar out of the girl, just leaves a blue handprint. I shared it
Slapped
earlier.
the stupid off him.
And she's like, she gets all indignant, like, what did I do? That's not dignified. How undignified. Her exact line, how undignified.
Lady.
Lady.
Hey, lady. Well, we're going to fix that right now. Everyone.
It's that
is live right now.
It's that idea that the bully, she's socially more not accepted. Her social standing makes her better than people. I actually had a girl in middle school, Shelly.
Mm-hmm.
Her mom was one of the most prevalent OBGYNs in the city. Her mom and dad, they lived in the rich part of the town, right on the bay, had a multi-million-dollar house, and she thought her shit didn't stink.
Yeah.
She looked at me one time, and she looked at me, she's like, I'm rich, you trailer trash.
Wow.
I looked at her, I said, you have jack shit. Your mom and daddy are rich.
Your mama.
Yeah. And her mom and dad were the sweetest people I've ever met. And that's what I said that one time, was like, oh, I have this and this. My mom looked at me, she's like, you don't have shit. You mean your daddy are the ones that got it. And then, you know what? I didn't live in a trailer, never lived in a trailer. I lived in a nice little 2-bedroom house, middle of town, probably middle class. Big deal. But
hey, Kaiser.
And you know
You're
what?
getting an audience. Say hi.
Sorry. Hey, Kaiser. No, you're good, dude. You're good. This is just a topic that I've been really kind of pondering a bit, that really hits home for me.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? Her mom worked for that multi-million-dollar house.
Mm-hmm.
Now my parents, they live out in the country, a beautiful lakefront house, 3 bathrooms, 3-bedroom house, probably, I think, 2,000 square feet, when our house in town was probably 800. This is what my dad worked his entire life for. And you know what? I couldn't be more prouder of my dad.
There you go.
My dad is one of the, like I said earlier, my dad is Superman. To me, my dad has superpowers. He flies up above the clouds, Shelley. He had the great privilege of doing what he loved his entire life. And kids would ask me when I was little, "What does your dad do?" "Oh, my dad has superpowers. He flies, like I said,
Your
flies above the
hero.
clouds."
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I shared a clip from Back to the Future when Marty walks into his house, he sees, this is before the time change. He sees the car broken. He sees his father still being bullied by Biff.
Mm-hmm.
And you just see the look of like, oh my God, that is my father. He sees his dad just so belittled, so torn down. And it's that shock, that, like you said about your daddy, as you called him. He was
Mm-hmm.
a great man. And it sometimes as kids we don't see we don't see the scars on their backs from them shielding us.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had a family tragedy a few days ago. She's not blood, but she was still family. My cousin, her aunt passed away. Who, when I've shared before, this family was always good to me and my brother when we were around.
Mm-hmm.
And she finally passed away, and I got in a conversation with my cousin. I dread that day when my dad goes. And I think we all do. I think everyone who are close to your parents do. And I know I have to be strong for my mom's sake. I have lived in a double wide modular home. They're not single wide trailers in the park in town. They're nice. Some of them are
Listen,
really nice.
I watch those videos of the triple Ys and stuff, and I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
damn, I want one of those. But yeah, no.
Hey, Suzanne. Yeah, like I had a girlfriend in high school, my first girlfriend. She was always going
Hey,
like, "Oh,
cool. Hey, Susie."
She was always going on about, "Oh, we don't have any money. We live in a trailer out in the woods." The first time I go to her house, it's nicer than the house I'm living in. Yes, it's a trailer, but it's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what? Okay, why are you? This is your parents. Her dad worked 7 days a week as an auto mechanic. Her mom was the parent liaison at our school. They worked hard for this. Why are you belittling them like that?
Yeah.
And I don't think kids, and I don't even think young adults. Hey, Suzanne, that's cool. Oh yeah, I had a we call it the hunting camp. That's how redneck we are, Shelley.
You country.
Yeah, hell yeah. My aunt and uncle had.
I say that with affection.
And I'm damn well proud of it, girl. We had I had an aunt and uncle who they took a single wide, cut a hole in the side, and built an entire add-on to it,
Mm-hmm.
and put like 5 or 6 beds in it, so people would have when they were go hunting. And it was one of the funnest places I ever went to. We have the family farm where about 5 or 6 of my family members have houses. It's where my family has farmed for, God, 150 years and still living on that. It's one of my favorite places. It's heaven to me, Shelley.
I believe it.
And like one of my earliest memories is we were at a family reunion and they had those big hay bales in the field. My 2 cousins and my brother and I, we run across the field, we're playing, and they get up no problem. Of course, I was even short back then, Shelley.
Well, I mean, I don't think you got tall and shrunk. Jeez.
No, for my age, I was still short.
Oh, okay.
And I climb up I'm almost to the top, and my brother pushes me back down.
Your brother's a dick.
He is. And my cousins, they laugh, and I just run back to my mom crying. It's one of my earliest memories. My cousins, they've passed on, but it's those memories. Yes, yes, my brother was a bully in that story.
Still your brother.
Yeah, he's still my brother.
You
Do you
suck
ever
with
have?
him.
Yeah.
I
Have
know.
you ever had dreams, Shelley? I know this that are so vivid that years or decades later you can still remember them.
Yep.
I remember I was probably in first or second grade. I'm in my class. I get called out to the hallway. My mom and my principal are there. This school has been long since torn down, but I can remember the hallway, the lighting from. I can still remember the looking and seeing the exit sign at the end of the hall. This dream was so vivid. The principal leans down to me and says, "Something's happened to your brother." And I just shot up out of bed. And luckily my brother and I shared a room, so I was able to look over at his bed and see that he was still there. But it's one of those dreams. Yes, he was a bully. I have scars to prove it, but he's still my brother.
Mm-hmm.
And it's those familial bullies, they say families can hurt you the most. And I believe it. The things that the bullying at home that I still suffer from a little bit today, it's mind-boggling. It would make anyone go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I've shared, I don't want to rehash the story of my time in college
Mm-hmm.
and being told I deserved it by a family member. That if she felt that way, something must have happened. You must have done something. And being told that if I didn't get over it, my dad told me if I didn't get over it, I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
Which was probably the closest I've ever been to an actual nervous breakdown was when all that was going on. But there
I
have been
believe
times
it.
there have been times too where you have to stand up to the bullies. And I'm glad you came on too, because I was going to talk about the zero tolerance policy in schools.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad you came on because I'd like to get
How
your views
arbitrary those are.
Yeah. I'd like to get your views on that and how it doesn't stop bullying. I believe it empowers bullies because it
Mm-hmm.
forces the victims not to retaliate. What do you think?
I think that the zero tolerance is a bunch of bullshit because they arbitrarily decide what bullying is rather than take in like what's actually being done. They're like, well, you have to be a little more tolerant too. They come from a bad background and blah blah blah. And you know, they're going through something. Okay, but you're more worried about them than me. Like I saw some kids get bullied and nothing happened. I saw kids who got bullied have to pay the price
Yes.
because the bully was able to go to their parents first and like turn it around. I'd be like, well, they're always staring at him and they know it bothers him. And blah, blah, blah. Like they have ways of justifying it and they get away with it. They do get away with it. And then if they get retaliated against, usually it's the one that retaliates that pays the price because they're not as good at it or their parents aren't as popular or powerful or loud.
And I think it
So
also
yeah, it's crap. It creates weak people too.
It creates lazy administrators too.
Yes, it does. Well, I mean, that exists
Yeah.
regardless.
I mean, it takes away the ability for the administrators to examine the incident and decide case by case what should be done. I remember one time, middle school. Sixth grader, stupid me. I'd do what sixth graders do. The last bell rings, and I'd hightail it. I'd run my ass out of school. I'd run as fast as I could to get out.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one time I'm running out of my sixth period class, and this kid trips me. My books go everywhere. My instrument goes flying off, and I get so mad. I pin him against the lockers, asking what his problem was, and he turns around and just sucker punches me right in the temple.
Ooh.
That's like the huge. I'm like, okay. I'm a little dazed, so I'm just like,
A
this.
little.
And I walk out. I get in the car. My mom's like, "What the hell is on your face?" Huge bruise right here on the side of my face that I had
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't feel it. He gets a few days suspended. I get a few days in ISS for fighting. Or when I was in my sophomore year, I've told you the story about. I was in band. I was part of loading crew. Our job was basically, load up the instruments, make sure we have all the equipment ready to be loaded in the trailers and on the bus. Oh my God, it was so much fun. It was such a great excuse to get out of school or class early. Depending on how far the football game was that night, depending on how many classes I had to go to. There were sometimes would be the game would be 2-3 hours away. I would have to go like, hey, first period teacher, hi, bye, I gotta go to the band room. I'd stay in the band room all day.
Nice.
But so one day, it fell to me for some reason to be in charge of it. I guess because I'd been in it so long, and me and another guy had been in it so long, everyone kind of like, oh, I guess they're in charge now. It kind of just fell on us.
Yeah, you were the go-to.
Yeah, the other guy, he soldered off somewhere. I don't remember where he was, so I was in charge. I'm surrounded by dozens of cases, drums, sousaphones, trumpets, and everyone's cases needed to be loaded up and put on the trailer, loaded up the trailer on the bus. So this smart ass freshman drummer, and there's something about drummers, they just have that arrogant attitude.
They like to beat on things. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, you never wanted to sit in front of a drummer on the bus for trips
I
or
know.
away game. Hated it.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes up to me. He's got his drum in his hand. He's like, "Put my drum in my case now," just like that. That arrogant servant kind of servant. Put my drum in my case now.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked up and says, "No, put your damn drum in your case. Set it over there, and I'll get to it when I get to it." And this girl, and I think all this happened because she was a girl. This girl comes up, and she had issues too, but doesn't excuse what she did. She's like, "Why don't you just do what he tells you?" I said, "Why don't you just mind your own business? Why are you butting in? Shut your mouth."
Mm-hmm.
She comes up to me, stops right in front of me, and whispers to me, "If you ever fucking talk to me like that again, I will fucking kill you." And she goes to push me, and I see her about to push me, so I brace myself, and she basically bounces off of me, and she goes almost starts toppling over the cases. I grab her so she doesn't fall and lift her back up. I let go of her, Shelly. She comes at me with a pin trying to stab me. So I grab her, put my arm across her chest, put my hand on her shoulder, pin her against the wall, saying, "You need to calm down." And that's the end of it, I thought. Till I get called into the band director's office. He tells me what's going on. Everyone who witnessed this tells him she went at him. She was trying to stab him. Shelly, she gets a slap on the wrist, told, "Don't do that again." I get kicked out of band and 10 days suspended.
Jesus. Bit of an escalation.
Exactly. It's because the band director, it was his first year. It was his first year out of college. He just finished his internship. He was supposed to become our assistant band director, but they ended up firing our old band director for for some reasons.
Mm-hmm.
He was afraid, and I honestly believe this. He's the band director at another high school now, and I will tell them if I ever see him, I will tell this to his face. He was more concerned about how his band looked to the community than dealing with a student who had issues, who needed help, needed an outlet like band was to me. Band was my everything, Shelley. God, there is nothing more invigorating than being in the South, being on the field during halftime and hitting that last note and seeing all your peers jumping up and cheering for your music.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like it's like I say in the theater. There's nothing better than having the audience cheer and clap for you. It's that dopamine rush that if I didn't get, I'd do drugs.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of my favorite voice actors, Rob Paulson. He did Yakko from the Animaniacs.
Uh-huh.
He did Pinky from Pinky and the Brain. The
Pinky
voice
in
of
the
my
brain.
he did all these amazing voices, and he did a podcast, and he'd always sign off with, "Remember, laughter is the best medicine, and you can't OD, and the refills are always free." and that's where I get my sign off from. Find your passion and nerd out about it. To hell what other people think about your passion. I posted a few weeks ago on a Facebook page. It's about just venting, getting things out, and some guy started attacking me. I'm like, I don't know you, dude. He's like, oh, you like cartoons and like I follow 90s like retro movies and cartoons and stuff, Facebook pages.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, screw you, dude. I'm not going to apologize for what I like. And that's one thing about my channel. I try to say, never apologize for what you like. Never let these bullies make you feel less. And that I think I want to share this, my last clip from the movie Angus. He's been bullied for his entire life for his size and because he's smart. And in the end, spoiler alert, he becomes the prom king. They don't call it's the winter dance, and he finally gets to dance with his crush, who happens to be this guy's girlfriend. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna a little quieter. They just finished their dance. And fun fact, the girl he dances with, the blonde you just saw, that's that's the girl from Jurassic Park. The Richard, the crazy guy, Hammond's granddaughter in Jurassic Park.
Oh, okay.
See, that's the bully right there.
You can tell.
Listen, what are you doing? Rick! What the hell are you doing? Look at this guy. Come on, joke's over, man.
Leave me alone.
Hey! Oh, what are you, a defender? Your life, dude.
Rick, stop it!
Saving it for you.
Stop!
Time I broke your nose, Angus. Take your best shot, asshole. Come on, man. Welcome to high school, Angus.
A little thing about this scene. It's ironic that he punches him because you see in the flashbacks from in the movie, he breaks the guy's nose like 4 or 5 times as their childhood goes by. Shelley, I recommend this movie so much. It's a great movie.
Cool.
Good thing you're leaving.
Standing up to the bully.
Still here, asshole!
And that's that line right there. I'm still here, asshole. Bullies want to use their power to sometimes run people off.
Mm-hmm.
And the best thing you can do is just stand there. See, I'm right here. It's like Captain America said, when the whole world tells you something is wrong, you plant your feet like the tree beside the river, and when they tell you to move, you say, no, you move. He's taking the power back.
Mm-hmm.
This guy has been torturing him for years, and it has eaten at him. It has eaten at Angus for years. One, his name's Angus, and the front line in the movie is like, yes, it's a cow's name. We get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Lex was her name in Jurassic Park. I knew Kaiser, of all people, would know. And you see that this is the scene. I saw this movie. This movie came out in '95. I was 7 years old, and this scene just has stuck with me so much. You could just see the power being taken back. And him finally, he's like, I'm me. I'm proud of it. Throughout the entire movie, he's like, I hate myself. I hate being fat. I hate the way I look. I sweat like rain. There's a whole exchange between him and his grandfather about having to wear a tux to this. He's like, I'm gonna sweat, but I don't sweat like I sweat like rain. And it's these things the bully has been saying to him, and he's like, I've had enough, but I'm gonna be better. You see him be better than him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the most underrated films, but with one of the most powerful scenes I remember.
I'll always be here. You push me down and I'll get right back up again, and again. I could beat you right here, right now. But I don't want to be better than you, Rick. I don't want to be better than anybody. I want to be who I am. A fat kid who's good at science and fair at football.
Yes, right there. He's like, I don't want to. You want people to be like you. Anyone not like you is less than. And that's what a bully does. They make you less than. And Angus has had enough. He's like, I don't want to be like you. I have tried to be like you. I don't want to be like you. I want to be me. I want to be the fat kid who's good at science and decent at football. And
I get it. Go ahead.
I mean,
it's hard, nerd. It is. It's hard to be who you are when other people are always coming against you. It's hard to march to your own beat. It is. It's not easy being different than everybody else. But if you look at it, everybody else is different than everybody else too. That's the thing. You don't know what's going through somebody else's head.
And listen to what he said. I'm so glad you said that, because that ties into what he's about to say.
Okay.
Okay, you gonna play?
That's who I am. I can live with it. Why can't you?
Because it's not normal. You're not normal.
And who is you?
It's your ass.
And so what, to be normal? We all have to be like you? There are 400 people in this room that are nothing like you. Some of them are fat, some of them are skinny, some of them are tall, some of them are short, some of them have braces, some of them have birthmarks, or scars, or frizzy hair, or ears that stick out. But most of them probably walk through these halls every day, never telling anybody the truth about what they really want, or need, or believe. Because people like you, normal people like you, have them terrified of being who they are. I mean, if you're normal, what does that make them?
Oh.
So which is it, Rick?
Oh, they're shutting down your stream. You better stop showing that clip.
Or you just want to...
Ooh, what did I get a warning?
It says stream suspended for policy violations. Give it a couple minutes. It should come back.
See, I've been talking.
Stream got yeeted.
Wow. First time this ever happened to me.
It's still showing that you're live, so I don't know if they could hear us or not. I don't think they can. Check your
I just
Your
checked it.
YouTube.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube. Yeah, Kaiser said it got yeeted. I'll just go back in and do some editing. But wow, that
Yeah, wait for the stream. He said, wait for stream to resume.
yeah.
It's all right. You got time.
Yeah. Maybe I need to start. I just need to look into fucking Rumble.
I love Rumble.
Yeah, I'm gonna start. I've been thinking about looking into it.
You should. You definitely should.
How can? See, I made sure to talk over every clip.
It doesn't matter. You played it for too
YouTube is
long.
asshole. Yeah, that one. Yeah, I figured that one was a little long.
There we go. We're back.
Are we? I'm still getting.
No, I could see us.
Hey, we're back. We're back. We back.
We
YouTube.
back. That's why I've been watching, because you play a lot of clips, so I've been watching the YouTube portion instead of the StreamYard.
This one, I figured would be a little clip heavy. So I'm gonna go in and but getting back to Angus, you know, he finally is like, I have to be me. And to hell with you. And it's like they say, who decides what's normal anyway?
It's true. It's true.
It's like you can go to your neighbor's house and be in for such a culture shock. I had a friend in high school. His parents were from Mexico. And I remember going over to their house, and it was a lot of, they were Catholic, a lot of Mother Mary effigies on it, you know, the crucifixion, and a lot of Spanish, Mexican arguments. You know, I've felt like Lucille Ball and listening to Ricky go off. But it was normal to them, and they were some of the nicest.
The guys.
No, it wasn't. No, I'm trying to say it was normal for them, and they were some of the sweetest people I've ever known.
I know.
You want to know what's really racist? His dad owned a lawn care business. But they were so nice and so welcoming to me. And the guy's a lieutenant now in our local fire department, and he's still one of my best friends.
Aw.
It's normal.
Good to know the cops.
Fire department, not cop.
Well, same.
I remember
municipal.
I remember one day I'm walking out of a local dollar store, and I hear a fire truck. I'm standing at my car, watching them drive by, and they pull into the parking lot. I'm like, oh, did someone set a fire after I left? And all these firemen in their full gear gets out, and here he just gets out the front, little mustache, little like porn star mustache, because you know firemen, they can't have beards because it doesn't seal it doesn't allow their masks to seal. He's like, dude, I'm like, dude, awesome. Hey, how you? We talked about. He was sitting there filling out paperwork, and we talked for like 20-30 minutes. I mean, I met him in middle school in band. I met some of my best friends in band, but also my worst enemies in band.
Yeah, it's usually a mix.
And it's like the girl who attacked me in band. I don't know why, but I'm friends with her on Facebook. And I see her. She'll post like things are hard. And I know this is wrong, Shelly, and I hate myself for it, but I'm like,
good.
Good.
I know.
It's like, oh, I need to be better than that, but the pettiness is just like overflowing with me right now.
The struggle is real.
I know the pettiness is just, it's so, it's like she became a stripper, Shelly.
Of course she did.
It's like, ew, no. And that people ask me like, I have gone to like a few years ago, almost 8 years ago now. I had my 10-year reunion, and a bunch of people went to like bars and strip clubs after the reunion. Someone asked me, he's like, "Hey, do you want to go to this strip club?" I was like, "No, because I know people who work there."
Guys. Mhm. No, I get it. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I can't get a proper face seal on this SCPA. Yeah, that sucks. One thing my dad was happy about when he got off the force. Also, why most people. Yeah, exactly.
They all have the porn star mustaches.
Yes, yes.
They're rocking the John Holmes. It's like,
Yes,
okay.
exactly.
Mhm.
Like my best friend's dad was a fireman all throughout my childhood, and he never had a mustache, thank God, because I couldn't. It's like he taught me music. His dad was the reason I got into music.
Mhm.
Because in elementary school and through middle, I would go to their house in the afternoons after school. We played 2 or 3 hours, and his dad would come home, and he had a studio. He was a really popular trumpet player in town, and he had a studio in the front of their house where he'd play and practice. And it was an old, like 100-year-old house where no hardly any insulation, sound. You farted in one room, you could hear it across the house, that kind of thing.
Oh, that's beautiful. Nice
Well, it was
analogy.
yeah. You couldn't step it. You couldn't sneak around the house because the floors creaked. I sat there listening for years, him playing. So when I got to middle school and got the option, I jumped at the chance, and I'd take lessons from him. When his mom passed away, they were like an aunt and uncle to me. I went to the funeral and spoke. I said, Alexander brought me friendship. Mr. Ian, he was Scottish. So Ian, he brought music into my life. But Miss Cindy, that was his mom who passed away. She brought fun and games because she was a big gamer. Board games, Pokemon cards, video games. She always had tons of games for us to play as kids.
Mhm.
And so
Sound like good people.
they were. He works for the military now, so up in Virginia. So it's been 5 or 6 years since I've seen him. When I tell you, it was his grandfather who worked on the Apollo. My friend Alexander, it was his grandfather who worked on the Apollo missions that I've told you about.
Very cool.
He built the lunar lander, Shelley. He was like,
damn.
Of course, he was one of thousands of people working on it. But you can look at this guy up in the history books. He was there when in mission control in Houston trying to figure out how to get Apollo 13 home.
Oh God.
He was one of the coolest guys I've ever met because I sat there asking him tons of these questions about the space agency, about the Apollo missions.
Mhm.
And he took the time to answer this random friend of his grandson's questions. And I thought that was the coolest thing because every time I watch Apollo 13, I can't help. I'll pick a random person when they're all in mission control trying to figure it out. I was like, that's him.
Is that him? Is that him? Is that him?
I'll just pick a random person. I'm like, okay, I'm going to pretend that's him. That kind of.
There you go.
And if it wasn't for friends like that, I don't think I could have handled the bullies.
Mhm.
I remember one time in high school too. We had there was a walkway between the music building and the special education building. There was a sidewalk, and the door to the choir room was right there. And these kids during lunch one day corner me and start bullying me, start threatening me. My friend Jeremiah, who's 6.5 feet tall, 350 pounds. He was a lineman for a few years in the NFL.
Damn. I was gonna say that's a big boy.
His arms
country.
His arms were the size of tree trunks.
I bet.
But he was the nicest, sweetest guy you ever met, Shelly.
Mhm.
Funny thing, there was a story he told me one time. It's like, dude,
Big guys are teddy bears.
He still is. He looked at me one time. He said, dude, there's only 2 people I'm afraid of. He said, my mom, and his mom was your typical Southern black lady. She worked at the school. They lived, you could see their address. You could read the address on their house from our school. They were lived that close. She During summer band camps, we'd go over there and she'd feed us like fried chicken, all this Southern spreads. We did.
Racist.
Oh,
Go ahead.
no, she loved cooking. Miss Glory was I loved Miss Glory. She was awesome. And
why does my accent change the longer I talk to you? Go ahead.
He looks at me. He says, "There's only two people I'm afraid of." He said, "My mom," and he looks at me with the most serious look. He's like, "And your mom." My mom, Shelly, is a 5'2", dumpy looking Irish woman, like Molly Weasley with a Southern accent.
Oh, God damn.
That's the best way I could describe it. She. Oh, you didn't want to get her angry. and I tell my mom this. My mom starts cracking up. She goes up to him. The next band thing we have, reaches her arm out. It can only reach to his waist, basically. She's like, "Oh, I hear you're scared of me." He's like, yes, ma'am, but in the most respectful way possible, ma'am." That's the best way. I just thought of this. That's the best way you could describe my mom, Molly Weasley with a Southern accent.
There you go.
And but I'm getting bullied by these
That's
guys.
fucking hilarious. Go
They're
ahead.
wanting to fight me, and Jeremiah comes out of the door. He happens to come out the choir room door to go to the store because the special education department had this store that would sell all sorts of snacks, sandwiches, hot pockets, drinks, because they used the money for the special education department. And he puts his arms around me. He's like, "Hey, dude, what's going on?" And just stares these guys down. And they hightail it out of there. But
good for him. Good for you.
Yeah, and I remember one time, my first band trip. I'm sorry. Now that you're here, I'm rambling. But I remember
make people squirrel. Go ahead.
All these stories kind of connect. I in my mind, at least. I remember I've shared this before with you. I don't know if on stream or in private, but it was my first band trip. My mom goes with me. We're going to Williamsburg, and my two roommates. It's their first time. We're seventh graders. These two kids who sharing the hotel room with me. It's their first time being away from their parents. They're nervous as hell, which, understandably, we had those Jack and Jill style hotel rooms, with the two doors with like the inch between them. Stupid me. Not stupid me. I knock on the other door. A few minutes later, I'm in the bathroom brushing my teeth, and I hear boom, 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 boom on the door. One of our chaperones, who was an Army Ranger on leave from service, is banging on the door. And one of the other guys goes up in the door. He barges, "Who knocked on that door? Who's banging on these walls? I did not ever hear that." He's yelling at these guys who have no idea what the hell is going on. I'm brushing my teeth. I stick my head out. I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm not going out there."
Yeah, no.
And
sometimes discretion is the better part of valor.
Yeah, exactly. I go tell my mom this. My mom goes up to him, like I said, he's an Army Ranger, typical operator, kind of look, those big barrel-chested guys, muscular. My mom goes up to him and starts sticking her finger in his chest. "Don't you ever talk to my boys like that again. And if you ever do, we're going to band director. Do you understand me?" He's like, "Yes, ma'am." And you know what? After that, Shelly, him and my mom became best friends.
I'm sure.
Because during that trip, we didn't have enough kids and parents and chaperones for another bus, so they rented two vans. And my mom and him were in van 2, and they started having so much fun in the van that band director, she check in with him over walkie-talkies. "Hey, van 1, are you still there? You good? Hey, van 2, are you still good?" They were getting so rowdy and having so much fun, the band director stopped talking to van 2. She'd say, "Hey, van 1, is van 2 behind you still?" And it's that show of power. You know, she didn't say I'll kick your ass or anything. She just says, I'll take you to the authorities. Do you understand me? It's that power that bullies want to try to take away.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes a bully can become your best friend if you stand up to him. It's like when I was in first grade, I changed classes, and there was this guy. We did not like each other for like the first 2 or 3 weeks, but then we got to know each other. And he runs a transmission place with his dad. I can go take my car, and I'll know I'll get a good deal because I trust him. I've known him for 30 some odd years. And and I understand. Trying to tie this all together. Bullying, I think, is sometimes a cry for help almost.
Mm-hmm.
And because I don't believe like in villainy for evil's sake. I don't believe in that black and white. Like I've told you before. I don't believe in like everyone is this, everyone is that. I don't believe in that binary way of thinking or binary look at things. I believe that bullies.
You.
Did you just sneeze?
Yeah, I did. Sorry.
Bless you. No, I was just wondering.
Thank you. It was like my 4th one in a row. Sorry. I thought I was done, but I wasn't.
It's like, you remember the bully in A Christmas Story? Scud?
Uh-huh.
Do you realize, have you ever seen A Christmas Story, the sequel?
Yep. We watched it on documentary on our old school watch party.
I was about to say, we did watch it. You remember how Scud changed and became, how he
He was
changed
a cop. Yeah.
Yeah. How he changed and he thanked Ralphie for that beating.
Uh-huh.
He even said, my old man was not the greatest guy. You know, we need to stop bullying, but we need to find the root cause of bullying. And it's going to be different. We can't stop. We'll never stop.
Funny, you sound like winning.
Yes. He's rubbed off on me.
I ain't gonna say a word.
Stop it. Stop it. I've already been yeeted once. Don't get me yeeted again, girl.
Girl, they are not gonna yeet you because of me.
But
go ahead. I didn't say nothing. All I did was laugh. So bite me.
But we see examples of a lot in these clips, and even more so in media, and how it impacts. Media is a reflection of the society in which creates it, I believe.
Well, there's no point in creating something that nobody can relate to and nobody's going to watch.
Yeah, that's kind of profound, wasn't it? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I get deep sometimes and shock myself. Wow.
But you know what? I'm not going to say nothing about you shocking people by being deep, but go ahead.
It's like, I shared the clip, you know, in The Amazing Spider-Man when Peter goes back to school, and you know he's been tortured by Flash Thompson, you know, his school bully, for years.
Mm-hmm.
And then Flash he gives out that olive branch. You know, Peter doesn't know how he reacts violently when Flash comes up to him. You know, when he pins him against and all Flash is like, dude, I'm sorry about your uncle. That's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to talk. And it's like you give out, the bully will sometimes he'll put out that olive branch, but then the victim starts looking for the thorns.
Of course.
And
it's very hard to trust somebody after they've betrayed you like that over and over and over, and you knew that you didn't deserve it.
And you know,
you just became somebody else's plaything because they were bored or they were hurting or they're just not complete individuals themselves. So yeah, it's a problem.
And if you read the comic and other versions, Flash and Peter become best friends when he becomes Flash actually, I wish they would do this in MCU. There's so much in the MCU that they don't. He gets infected by the Venom symbiote, and instead of it taking control of him, they actually become really symbiotic. He becomes this hero called Agent Venom, and he uses the symbiote powers like Spider-Man because he's a huge Spider-Man fan.
Uh-huh.
And they become best friends because due to that fact that Peter Parker is Spider-Man and Flash as Agent Venom, they become best friends. And so that's why the growth, sometimes bullying can grow into something, into friendship, lifelong friendships, probably.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always the case. And I
What are you trying to say?
I want to let people, I wish people would know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. That one day the bullying will stop. It may take another form, but there will be good times.
Never look for a permanent solution to a temporary situation.
Yes.
I say it all the time on my show.
We had a young lady in our school system about 10, 15 years ago was bullied mercilessly.
Mm-hmm.
And I spoke at the beginning of the stream about cyberbullying and how 15, 20 years ago, when that bell rang, bullying would usually end. You would have an escape from it. She was bullied.
No more.
Yeah, due to cyberbullying, they tried to pass laws in her name, and this is where, like Nick always says, the judicial system is what 15, 20 years behind the society.
Mm-hmm.
And her bully, they tried to take her bullies to task, to court over and nothing happened.
Of course not.
It's like, another example. I wish YouTube would let me fucking show these clips. Revenge of the Nerds, a perfect example of what I've been talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
You have your passion, but there are people who are scared of it, who they think you're weird or wrong.
Well, they're usually people who don't understand what it is to really be invested in something.
Exactly.
They don't get how you can care so much for something that they see as, like a kiddie pastime. Like Kaiser was saying, he said one, wait, where is it? He said, why do adults get down on other adults about enjoying animation? I never understood that. It's because they have this classification in their head sometimes. They were doing something that somebody else didn't like, and they got picked on for it. So now that becomes a negative in their head. So now for the rest of their life, they're going to tease other people for enjoying it since that got taken away from them.
Yes.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be the same thing. It's just like, well, you're not allowed to enjoy life like that. You're not allowed to have interests. You're not allowed to be your own person. You got to be what everybody else says you are.
It's like, which is more socially acceptable? Probably D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, or fantasy football. Which is more socially acceptable?
Fantasy football, because it's a man's sport.
Yes, but D&D is fantasy football with dragons and monsters instead of players. It's you're dealing with statistics. You're dealing with storylines. When you're creating your own team, you're just thinking, okay, what these stats? How can they fit in with this? You're doing the same thing, but the only difference is in D&D, you're creating your own characters, your own world. In fantasy football, you're dealing with real guys with statistics, and you're making your fantasy team.
You're still making shit up.
Exactly. But one's socially acceptable, the other's not. And I would say D&D is a little more socially acceptable than the last 5 or 6, maybe 5 to 10 years.
I mean, not to play devil's advocate, but some of the people in the beginning who played D&D were fucking weird. So I mean
Yes.
there is a reason that it got that kind of like connotation to it.
Yeah, it was these writers and artists that were kind of on the fringe of society back then.
There were little doo 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 doo
I
doo
mean,
doo doo like yeah.
I mean,
Little Lulu.
Ed Greenwood, when um, the author that Nick a few months ago interviewed, he's one of the major creators of Dungeons and Dragons. And look at him, he's white, long. He's your stereotypical wizard-looking guy, long beard, long white hair.
You're not wrong.
He looks like Gandalf. And if you look up his character Elminster is his main character that he's created. Looks exactly like him.
I bet.
He said that Elminster is me in my story. But he's created something so beautiful and amazing. And if I ever get to meet him in person, because I remember that night, I'm like 30 minutes late to Nick's stream. We're all in Discord, and I scream, "Holy shit!"
I remember that night.
Because I see one of my literary heroes, my writing idols on there with the Law Pope. And I'm broke, but I'm gonna send a fucking super chat and tell him how much I meant to him, or he means to me. His writing. I remember I picked up this random book because it had a guy with pointed ears and white hair off the shelves in Books A Million. Read it. It's Starless Night by Ed Greenwood, which it was in the middle of one of his book series, the middle book, and I start reading it, and I have fallen in love with the fantasy genre ever since. It has inspired me to create my own world, which I sent you a copy of.
I know. Shut up.
I'm just reminding you. But there are people out there who don't understand that kind of passion. I think that kind of passion would scare them, that someone could be so passionate about something. Like I had a guy tell me, he said, you don't want to sacrifice you don't want to sacrifice reality for your passion. I was like, yeah, but you still need your passion to escape from reality. Sometimes the horrors of reality, you need that passion. You need that escape. It's like escapism versus realism he talked about. But in Revenge of the Nerds, you have the big jock Stan. Remember, he's like, nerds, and you got Booger or Ogre. But by the third one, in the end of the third one, Stan's like, I'm a nerd too. I wanted to do math, but my dad forced me to do football. I wanted to study. And he came out as a nerd. And there's nothing wrong with football. I enjoy football. I enjoy baseball. And you know what? That's fine. Like I said, find your passion. I didn't say nerdy passion. I said find your passion and nerd out about it. Because being a nerd is not I'm glasses and pocket protector kind of thing. Being a nerd is being someone who loves something. You can nerd out about football. You can nerd out about what
Star Wars.
Anything. You can nerd out about it. Exactly. It doesn't
I know.
to be. It's like
I'm a nerd.
Exactly. Well, yeah, you have your passion.
I've always been a nerd.
Back in the 80s and 90s, nerd was this insulting thing for this guy who was a loner geek who did science. But it's beyond that now.
Yeah, I was a literary nerd. I was reading Shakespeare at like 7 years old. So I got made fun of a fucking lot. So.
I was a superhero nerd. When I was little, me and my friend Chris would take our jackets, we'd put them around our neck, we'd button the top button, and those were our superhero capes during recess. We did these nerdy things. Power Rangers. Me and my friends at the Boys and Girls Club in the afternoon, we'd reenact scenes from like the Power Rangers movie. I loved this stuff as a kid. I love it as an adult, and I don't apologize, nor will I ever apologize for it. It's like It's like the guy in the Angus clip. He wanted everyone
Mhm.
to be like him. He couldn't understand that. And you know what? Nerds run things nowadays. It's
Nerds
not the
always ran things.
you know.
They
Look at
just weren't the figurehead. They weren't
exactly.
the public face of any company. They
Look
ran
at
everything behind the scenes.
exactly. Look at Elon Musk.
Daddy, hi,
Yeah.
Daddy Elon.
You know, but then you have these people who just want to attack people for what they love, and
That's because they're insecure in themselves and they don't have their own personal power to go stand against what everybody else is doing.
exactly.
That's
And
what they do. If you can't understand it and you don't have the balls to do it yourself, what do? You make fun of it. Or you make fun of the person.
yeah. And I've dealt with a lot of people in my life where I'll try to share my passion with them, and they just shut me down because it's not something they like.
It's not cool to them.
Well, it's not that it's not cool. They don't care to learn about it. They
Yeah,
don't want.
because they don't think it's cool.
Yeah,
They're
and
just because they want everybody to be like them. Because everybody's like them, then they don't stick out so much.
it's like, what if when we did when I found my spirit animal, thanks to you, you said something that it's really stuck with me. It's the owl because I'm quizzical. I'm I'm always asking questions. Like I and you know what, Shelly? Since then, I've seen so many owls out and about. It's like
I know.
like
Isn't it fun?
and it's like when I was in college, I started in the theater late. Never did before starting my theater classes in college. I had no experience in the theater. My
You knew
professor,
I was going there, but go ahead.
theater, and
You invited me on.
yeah, I know. My professor, he could see he took extra time to teach me the basics when classmates who had been already in it for 5, 6 years. One of them even did. He even did like advertisements as a baby, and I would
Yeah.
tell him I'm starving to learn all this. And to me, and he said something I really liked that I really kind of I try to I'll always try to remember. He said, "When you're done learning, you're done growing."
Mhm.
And he said, as an actors, you always need to be learning. You always need to be working on your craft. And that's always stuck with me because I remember I started my final year, and we had all these freshmen come up, excuse me, um, from the high school the last few days of the semester, and he's talking to him, and he asked me and another student to come in and talk to the kids. And
Mhm.
I'm sitting there on the stage, and he's talking to him, and he points at me. He says, "Be like him." I know I can ask him to do anything. I can ask him right now to run and get something from my office, and he will jump up and run to my office and get it for me. I know things will get done if I ask him. Because
Mhm.
I was always there early if we had an event because, I live so far out. I'm like, I don't want to go all the way back home. I'm just going to go get something to eat and come back. So I'd be like 2
Mhm.
hours early to an event, and I'd start helping. I'd ask him, I said, "Hey, do you need anything done? Or can I set up the stage?" When my first semester, when I was taking acting one, I wasn't an acting major at the time, but I saw my friends do Much Ado About Anything.
Uh-huh.
I saw it 3 or 4 times. We only did 6 shows over 2 weekends, but I watched it 3 or 4 times, Shelly. It was so good. They did such a good job. I even watched it. We had a public access. Our college had a public access channel at the time, and they put it on there. I stood there because I had to write an essay about it for acting one. So I sat there in my room watching it, taking notes because I couldn't take notes in the theater watching it. But about the week between the shows, I go to my professor like, what do I need to do to change my major? He's like, let's join me in my office and let's get the paperwork going. And I never looked back.
Okay.
I love that drug of creating. And like when they were tearing down the stage, I went up to my professor. I was like, hey, can I help? He's like, sure, go grab a hammer and start pulling nails out. I showed that initiative because it was my passion. It still is. If I miss
You
the
cared.
stage. Yeah, I still do. I miss the stage. My professor's moved on. He's actually getting really big in the Southern comedy circuit. He tours
Cool.
around the South, and it's my passion. I'd always ask, okay, how does this work? There was one class he was doing it. I got to the point he told me to shut up and stop answering my questions
Mm-hmm.
because all the other kids was like, oh, he's gonna answer, so I'm not gonna bother. But he told me, it's like, shut up, put your hand down, shut up. I'm like, excuse you? I went up to him.
You're like, but I know the answer. God damn it, nobody else knows.
I went up to him. I was like, what the hell was that about? He's like, I'm happy you're passionate, but I need to engage the others as well. They're just relying on you. I said, thank you. That makes sense now. But don't tell me to shut up again. And I don't want to keep repeating myself, but it's just when people, I think when people don't have that kind of thing in their lives, they don't understand how to deal with people like that, and it comes across sometimes as bullying.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's something that I just want people to realize too. One thing I want to let me. This is I want before we go, Shelly. I want people to know there is help.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I've been to that point a couple of times in my life that I felt that if I walked off the pier and just disappeared underwater, no one would care. People care.
Of course they do.
Reach
It's
out to
hard for some people to show it.
Reach out to one of us. I love that story of the guy in Australia who has a house on the side of a cliff, and he has a table he keeps a table with a tea out, and he has saved so many people from jumping by saying, "Would you like some tea?" There are ways to help. I'm actually starting therapy. I'm not ashamed to say I need therapy.
Never be ashamed of it.
And I'll be starting as soon as I the paperwork goes through and I hear from the office.
There you go. There ain't nothing wrong with going to therapy. I went to therapy for years.
Oh, I went through.
And then I found YouTube, and they became my therapists.
Oh, I remember a lot of times you tell me I gotta go. I got to call my therapist.
Mm-hmm. My therapist still listens to my podcast. So.
And it's nothing to be shameful
No.
shameful about. So, and I've called this number a few times. I mean, during the tornadoes a few months ago, I ended up calling them because it was just, I think I have PTSD from Hurricane Michael because during the tornado, the twisters earlier this year in January, oh my God, it was like flashbacks, just the piles of trash down the road. It took me back to that day. And so get help. And remember to bullies sometimes need help too.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an excuse for their behavior. It's just a reason why.
Well, you should never allow anybody to walk all over you. But you should take the time to maybe reflect on what's going on and if it's as dire as you think it is, and if you maybe just took it a little too personal. And then you gotta see if there's patterns. Like, is this person always like this? Is it only with you? Is it with other people? And take the bull by the horns. Like, talk about it. Go up to them and say, "Hey, this is not how decent people act. Why are you doing this? Why are you acting this way? What is going on with you? You don't have to be confrontational all the time. We can talk."
Yeah. To me, I think that taking that first step, for me personally, that first step is the hardest. I have issues. I don't process emotions. Something's different in my head, and no one's been able to tell me why, what's going on. I've been told what's not happening. I'm not bipolar. I'm not schizo. I'm not anything like that. I had someone said it's like depression mixed with paranoia, but then that person left. Like, okay, how are we gonna do this? Bye. No, I'm not gonna. It's like, oh, you just told me how what? Like, but I don't process emotions. Like, I'm an emotional guy, as people have heard on this.
You're a very emotional guy. Yes.
I don't take into that men have to be emotionally distant, that kind of idea from our grandfathers and great grandfathers generation, that a man has to suck it up and just suck it up until your heart explodes from the blood pressure. I don't. I've had discussions with my mom where I just broke down. I said, I don't know why I am the way I am. And I think that's what therapy, that's why I need therapy, is to figure out why I am and what I can do, not to make me better. I don't believe that it can make me better, but learn how to handle it. I don't like the word cope. I don't cope, just to me
Don't get hung up on language.
Yeah, I like handle it better. So that's I just wanted today in this show to share examples we could see in media. See what actually is the bully. I mean, I don't think many people understand what a bully is. I shared earlier some signs of bullying, of the signs that if your child is bullied. Really things that we parents, like I said, I'm not a parent, but I'm an uncle who's helping raise his niece, and I'm not seeing these signs in my niece. Thank goodness. Yet, knock on wood. So this is just media is a way to I use today media as a way to talk about a serious subject. And
that's good.
And that's what I think. It's like that guy how TV ruined your life guy we've been watching on Winnings. Check him out on Sundays, guys. Really informative, really interesting, and then we have fun watching a movie afterwards.
Yes.
We see how media has he spoke Sunday about how media has impacted your love life. And this is how, and today I hope I got it across of how media influences the views on bullying and our social interactions dealing with it. So, Shelly, we're coming up to the 2-hour mark. I usually do like 30-minute streams. Jeez. It's just easier to talk with somebody. I can't talk to the void like you can.
Well, not everybody has that endless inner monologue, apparently.
Yeah. Well, like I said, to winning, my monologues usually in show tunes.
Mm-hmm.
Show tunes.
Mine isn't that different.
And comic book references.
There you go.
But thank you for coming on, Shelley. I really appreciate it.
No, you're very welcome, honey.
You
I didn't want you up here getting emotional by yourself.
Well, you have some really great views. That's why I like talking to you. You're able. You have such an interesting life, and your views are really. Your views are. Our environments are so different, you and I, and our views have been shaped by it. It's so interesting to listen to this big city girl and her views on life, basically. You know, the biggest city I usually go to is Pensacola, and that's not that big. It's like a few summers ago, I went to New Orleans with my cousin, and I'm like, I'm claustrophobic. I don't like this. Not enough green.
I know that feeling well.
I mean, I felt that way when we went to actually New York when I was little. I'm like, God, it's like walking down the streets of New York with the skyscrapers beside you. It's like, damn, it's like walking through a tunnel.
At all times.
See, I love listening to other people's views. You know, I mean, I think Odysseus said it best in the Odyssey when the great miniseries. I read it in high school, loved it.
I was gonna say I know you watched it, but I read it. But go ahead.
We read it in high school, and I really enjoyed it. I love reading
Homer.
Homer, yeah, I love the Iliad. I love
the Iliad.
I love Greek mythology. I love it. But the suitors ask Odysseus when he's finally revealed himself. Athena's disguise has finally fallen, and he's about to start executing them. And they ask him, he's like, what is our crime? And he says, you are guilty of trying to steal my world. That line's so powerful because each of us is a world unto themselves. And I love looking at talking to people, and I could talk to a guy in the grocery store aisle and have a great, fascinating conversation with him for 20, 30 minutes. And I sometimes have to be careful because I'm like, oh, I'm talking too much. I gotta go. Bye. I have to be careful about that because I love learning about people. When I'm walking through Walmart, my head's on a swivel, just people watching. I love learning about people. And I love getting glimpses into their world. So I want to thank everyone thank you for joining me in mine, Shelley.
You're very welcome, honey. I'm happy to be here.
And thank you for everyone who came out. Kaiser, everybody, Cool Gamer, Lady Autumn. So we're signing off. And like I always say, I'm the nerd of the Outpost. Find your passion and nerd out about it. We're gone.
Lost in space, I found my police. In this outpost of solitude, my way. Binary code run through my veins. Every deep and deep, I feel no pain. Signing off, it's time to go. Goodbye, my nerdy friends, see you later. I know through the stars we've shared this ride, but now it's time to say goodbye, farewell.